The first thing people noticed wasn't the boy's voice, it was the laughter. It rolled through the auditorium in careless waves, light and dismissive, the kind that doesn't mean harm but causes it anyway. A few chuckles turned into whispers, whispers into smirks, as the boy stood alone at the center of the stage, clutching a battered acoustic guitar that looked older than he was. The spotlight revealed his worn shoes, his frayed jacket, and the nervous way his fingers trembled against the strings. To many in the crowd, he didn't look like someone destined to change a room. He looked like someone who had accidentally wandered into the wrong place. His name was Daniel. Daniel had learned early in life what it meant to be invisible. Growing up in a cramped apartment on the edge of a forgotten neighborhood, he understood hunger, silence, and long nights where hope felt like a luxury item. His father had left when Daniel was 7, chasing promises that never circled back. His mother worked double shifts at a diner, coming home exhausted, her hands smelling of coffee and grease, her smile always trying, sometimes failing, to hide the weight she carried. Music became Daniel's refuge not because he dreamed of fame, but because it was the one place where pain softened and the world made sense. The guitar had been a gift from a neighbor who was moving away. One of the strings was always slightly out of tune, and the wood bore scars from years of use, but to Daniel it felt sacred. At night, while the city hummed outside their thin windows, he would sit on the edge of his bed and play quietly, afraid to wake his mother. He didn't sing loudly then. He sang to himself, to the walls, to the ghosts of dreams he didn't yet dare to name. Years passed like that, school by day, work by afternoon, music by night. Daniel swept floors at a grocery store after classes, saving whatever spare change he could. Sometimes customers tipped him $1 and said, "Keep working hard, kid," without knowing how hard he already was. Sometimes no one noticed him at all. Still, he sang. The day he stepped onto that stage was not supposed to be extraordinary. It was a local open audition, nothing glamorous, nothing guaranteed. Daniel had nearly turned back at the door, intimidated by polished performers warming up in the hallway, voices trained, clothes pristine, confidence shining. He had overheard someone whisper, "He doesn't look like he belongs here," and for a moment, the old familiar doubt pressed hard against his chest. But then he thought of his mother, asleep after another long shift. He thought of the nights she pretended not to be hungry so he could eat a little more. He thought of the guitar and the neighbor who said, "Music finds the people who need it most." And so Daniel walked forward when his name was called. The laughter stung, but he didn't flinch. He adjusted the strap of his guitar, closed his eyes for just a second, and took a breath that felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. When he opened his eyes again, the room faded. There was only him, the guitar, and the song that had lived in his heart for years. He began to play. The opening chords of Hotel California drifted out softly, almost shyly, like a secret being shared. A few people in the crowd looked up, mildly curious. Then Daniel sang. It wasn't loud at first. It didn't need to be. His voice carried a rawness that felt unfiltered, untrained, and impossibly honest. There was gravel and gold in it, a depth that seemed too heavy for someone so young. Each note landed not on ears, but on something deeper, memories, regrets, long-forgotten dreams. Conversations stopped. Laughter dissolved into silence. As Daniel sang, the room changed. The lyrics, so familiar to so many, took on new meaning. Through his voice, they sounded less like a song and more like a confession, as if every word had been earned through hardship. People leaned forward in their seats. Some felt chills without understanding why. Others felt tears gathering, surprising and unwelcome, yet impossible to stop. Daniel didn't perform for applause. He sang the way people pray, desperately, sincerely, with nothing held back. His fingers moved across the strings as if guided by something beyond practice. His voice rose and fell, cracked and soared, carrying stories that weren't only his own. It carried the weight of every kid who had been underestimated, every dream delayed by circumstance, every heart that had learned to survive before it learned to hope. Halfway through the song, something unexpected happened. In the front row sat an older man, well-dressed, his posture stiff with authority. He had arrived late, barely paying attention at first, scrolling through his phone. But now he was frozen, his eyes fixed on the stage. The man's name was Michael Harris, though few in the room knew it. To them, he was just another judge, another face of success. What they couldn't see was the memory Daniel's voice had unlocked. Michael had once been a young musician too. Long before boardrooms and contracts, before ambition hardened into armor, he had played guitar in dive bars, chasing a dream that slowly slipped away after life demanded practicality. He remembered a song he used to sing, Hotel California, back when his voice still believed in possibility. Listening to Daniel, he felt something break open inside him, something he thought had been sealed forever. By the time Daniel reached the final verse, the silence in the room was sacred. Even the air felt different, charged with awareness. When the last chord faded, it lingered, trembling, as if the song refused to let go. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then the applause came, not thunderous at first, but deep, rising, relentless. People stood without realizing they were standing. Some clapped with tears streaming down their faces. Others simply stared at Daniel, trying to understand how someone with so little could give so much. Daniel bowed his head slightly, overwhelmed. He hadn't expected this. He had only hoped not to be laughed off the stage. As he turned to leave, Michael Harris stood up. "Wait," he said, his voice firm but emotional. The room quieted again. "Young man, what's your name?" "Daniel," he replied softly. Michael nodded. "Daniel, that was one of the most honest performances I've heard in my life." Daniel swallowed hard, unsure what to say. Michael continued, "I don't know where you come from, or what you've been through, but your voice carries something rare. Something that can't be taught." The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. What happened next changed everything. Instead of offering promises of fame or contracts, Michael did something unexpected. He walked up onto the stage and handed Daniel a small envelope. "This isn't about a competition," he said. "This is about belief. I want to help you study music, properly, if that's what you want. No strings attached." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Daniel stared at the envelope, confused. "Why?" he asked. Michael smiled, eyes glistening. "Because someone once did the same for me, and I didn't take it. I won't make that mistake again." Daniel's hands shook as he accepted the envelope. It wasn't just money inside, it was possibility. It was validation. It was a stranger choosing kindness without expecting anything in return. But the story didn't end there. In the days that followed, a video of Daniel's performance spread across the internet. Millions watched. Millions listened. Comments poured in from all over the world, people saying his voice reminded them of lost loved ones, of younger selves, of hope they thought was gone. Teachers played the video for their students. Parents shared it with their children. Veterans, nurses, factory workers, and dreamers of every kind found something of themselves in Daniel's song. Yet fame didn't change him the way people expected. The first thing Daniel did with the support he received was pay off his mother's debts. The second was something quieter but more powerful. He returned to his old neighborhood and started free music sessions for kids who couldn't afford lessons. He sat on cracked steps with borrowed chairs, teaching chords, listening to stories, reminding them that their voices mattered too. When asked why he did it, Daniel always said the same thing. "Someone heard me when no one else did." Years later, Daniel would stand on bigger stages, his name known, his voice celebrated. But he never forgot that first room, the laughter, the silence, the moment everything changed. He never forgot that music wasn't just about being heard, but about hearing others. And people who heard him sing Hotel California for the first time never forgot either. Because once in a lifetime, a voice comes along that doesn't just perform, it connects. A voice that reminds us that greatness isn't born from comfort, but from compassion. A voice that proves kindness can change a destiny, and generosity can echo forever. Daniel was that voice.